Hello. So, if there's any questions that I haven't addressed, please let me know here. I'll go through the questions. How much Rosin should I apply? That's a very good question. So, what I do is I take my Rosin, I say 20 times here, 20 times here, 20 times here, 20 times here. So, I basically apply it on like 5 different parts. That's the tip, upper middle, middle, lower middle, and low. Okay. So, I do this, say 20 times, and then this is my own way, right? I don't know if that's the best way. I just run it here and I just check how much excess hair rosin is there on the bow. So just the amount of hair coming will let me know. And usually the middle of the bow, right, tends to be less in rosin. So I put it again and I make sure it's uniform. Then I take a cloth and I wipe off all the excess rosin once or twice. You don't want to take the rosin off, you just want to take the powder off so that this doesn't happen. This has happened for me. It does happen, but at least you can limit it a bit. And also wipe the wood while you are at it. So that's what I do for the rosin. And hello, Venkoba. Venkoba is here. He's the guy who makes my Tulsi violin. Venkoba, I've been giving a lot of free promotion for your violin here, if you haven't noticed. So Venkoba Shah is the owner of Tulsi Violins. He makes this violin. If you like this violin, DM me and I'll give you his number. And I hope Venkoba will give me a good commission from that. I'm joking. What should beginners practice daily? Okay, so beginners, as I said, I was just talking about practice. Let us say you have 1 hour, okay? So what you can do is spend 30 minutes to 40 minutes on technique. Spend 10 minutes to 20 minutes on repertoire, on a kirtana you want to play, on a varnam you want to play. Spend 10 minutes on improvisation. If you go into your own room, no one's around. If you want, just switch off your light and just play whatever comes to your mind. No one's judging you. You're not judging yourself. You've done an incredible amount of work for 50 minutes and you're just letting yourself go. That's very important. And that's where our happiness comes from after practicing, right? So I always draw this analogy between driving a car, and playing the violin because, in the car, it's important that your engine has to be oiled, everything has to be tuned, everything has to be perfect. That's the technique part of it, right? Only when you have that, you'll be able to sit back, enjoy and drive and go as fast as you want to. So that's where technique comes. That's why I'm saying technique is boring, guys, but please do at least half, if not 60-70% of your time for technique. It is equally important to spend time on repertoire. So do play your varnams, do play your kirtanas, which are an expression of your techniques. And it's very important to have your improvisation. In Carnatic music, I'm not talking about improvisation much because that's all Carnatic music addresses. Manodharma, how to do this, that. I am talking about the things that you guys, and I'm assuming most of you are Carnatic musicians, will not possibly get. I'm not trying to say that the gurus don't have in mind, but all I'm trying to say is, as a Carnatic musician who has gone into the Western, the second I got into Western techniques, my sound improved. I consider myself very average when I was playing Carnatic. I had a lot of problems. I had a lot of scratchiness, and I was, not very confident. Western technique, combination of Western technique and Manodharma in the Carnatic, that's a very powerful combination. You look like violinists like L. Subramaniam, L. Shankar, Ganesh Kumares, these people have had a lot of Western technique influence, especially for the bowing arm. The Western technique is amazing. It's very, very important. Okay. I tend to give long answers to all questions, so I'm always catching up with comments. Beginners practice daily. Okay, guys, let me tell you a very, very important bowing practice that you guys should all do. Okay, I'm going to set my metronome to 60 BPM. Okay. Hang on. Again, I repeat myself, it's important to keep your tempo and shruti while you practice. Never practice without your tempo. So there you see, that's my metronome, and that's my tanpura. Okay, so this is called the son file. SON space FILE. Okay, this is called the son file. So what you're going to do is to keep, let me go this way. You're going to keep your bow as close to the bridge as possible. Not above the bridge, but as close to the bridge as possible. And you're going to draw the bow as slowly as possible. Okay? As slowly meaning aim to get 20 or 30 seconds for one bow. It's going to sound a bit scratchy. You're not looking to get a good sound. You're not looking to get a perfect sound. What is happening in this exercise, I will tell you after I do it for a little bit. So it's like this. Keep your hands correct position. Make sure you get that. That's very important. Relaxed. Okay. So this slow and even slower, make sure your violin has a good amount of Rosin on it. That will help. So go all the way down to this end and then go back up. The violin sound can be scratchy, it can disappear in places, but aim to get at least 60 to 70% of the violin tone. I had a student who said he did it for 60, 70 seconds. I can do it for 40 seconds. He said 60, 70. I said, wow, what are you doing? So basically, he was so slow that there was no sound that was coming out. So that is not good. Aim to get at least 70% of sound to begin with, and you can increase it. Try and get 20 seconds. I am on 60 BPM. 60 BPM, 60 beats per minute. That's basically one beat every second. You can get an app. As I said, I use Pro Metronome, but get a metronome app on your Android or an iPhone. You will get it. And you can get a Tanpura app on your phone. You don't need a computer for these guys, or you have everything. You have a tuner as well on your phone, so you can use that to tune your violin as well. There's a lot of questions about tuning. I'll get to that once I go through the comments. 60 BPM, go all the way down, up. If you're doing, it's sort of like a gym. If you're doing 20 seconds the first day, try and aim at 22 seconds. Then try and aim at 24, 25, increase it to 30. So do it on all 4 strings, okay? All the way. I have 5 strings. If you have 5 strings, do it for 5, but do it for 4 strings. And what this will do is, remember I told you about practice. When you exaggerate and make it slowly, everything understands. So what it happens, and again I keep getting back to the fingers and the muscle memory. At each point of time in the bow, it tells you how each of your fingers are feeling. And when you do all the awareness exercises that I did, and I've shared the Insta Live to my story, so you can check it out. So when you look at all the awareness exercises and come to sun file, with your bow, with your thumb being flexible, with your little finger being curved, and everything happening that it should, you do the sun file, that sort of glues everything together in your muscles. You know what I'm saying? So do it as slowly as possible, so each finger understands what they are, how they are feeling at different points of time in a bow. Okay, and you're doing it so slow, and you're keeping your fingers very relaxed. Okay, doing it the right way. So once you do this exercise will have a magic effect on your tone. You just go Google sun file, and people will tell you it's one of the most important exercises on Google. So do it like this, and I can guarantee you within a week, if you do it right, definitely within 2 weeks, you will see your bow tone improve. The awareness exercises I said about thumb flexibility, little finger, all those things, as well as the sun file. Sun file, do it every day. Please do the sun file every day. That's very, very important. That's sort of me trying to answer Sudha Violin's question. I learned from Sri V. Tyagarajan, answer to Supriya. I learned from Sri V. Tyagarajan, he's no more. He's my primary guru. I learned 10, 11 years from him. Then I went to Rukmani Mami, T. Rukmani Mami. I learned from her for a year and a half. Then I went to Narasimhan sir, V.S. Narasimhan sir, a Western violinist, for some Western lessons as well. So these are my gurus whom I've been fortunate to learn under. Rupesh, sir, can you suggest me a good processor? Entry level, I think Zoom makes some good processors. Check a Zoom processor. Buy whatever you want. See the ratings, see the reviews on Amazon. Or Sweetwater. Sweetwater, you can't buy it from unless you are getting it from the US. But you'll be seeing the reviews there, and you'll be able to see what is good, what is not good. Zoom makes some good processor. I think Boss makes some good processor. If you're starting out, buy a basic processor. Make sure it has EQ. Make sure it has delay. Make sure it has reverb. These three things are the main thing. If it has distortion, chorus and all that, yeah, okay, fine. I used to go crazy over all these things. But now the only other effect that I use is an octaver, right? Which I really use a lot. I don't use the other ones too much. But yeah, if you're into it, get a multi-FX processor. EQ, reverb, delay, very important, guys. How do you start feeling comfortable resting your violin standing up? This is a very important question, and I can't claim that I know the 100% answer to it from the way in terms of how I play. But you get your shoulder rest. Get a good shoulder rest that comes here, and first rest your violin on the collarbone. And I would like you to supplement my answer with a lot of answers you'll have online as well. So basically it rests on the collarbone, and then the rest takes care of the thing. And you have to drop your chin straight down, a little bit to the left but not too much, okay? And the violin is not like this. The violin is sort of at a 45-degree angle, right? So this is 0, this is 90. So I'm perpendicular on the phone. So this is 45, right? Like this is 90 towards you, and this is 0. So at a 45-degree angle, and make sure you're not putting weight down. Make sure there is no pressure here. That's very important, or else you will start to have issues with the neck. I've gone through my share of problems with wrong posture. It's an occupational hazard, but I hope you guys don't get it. So any pain that you get, please stop. You're doing something wrong. The violin is the balance of getting a violin right, especially on the Western hold, is very intricate. A lot of people suffer from neck problems. You got to get the right shoulder rest. Try different shoulder rest. I use the Wolf Secondo, I think. Wolf Secondo shoulder rest. Make sure you get the right chin rest. Try a few. This chin rest is over the center, and there are some chin rests that comes more towards here. So depending on how tall you are, where your neck is, and all those things, make sure that when you keep it at 45 degrees and when you put it down, you're able to balance the violin by itself with a shoulder rest. I don't have a shoulder rest, so it's tough for me to do it. But with the shoulder rest, it gets easy. But this is a constant thing that you have to do. Check it. Make sure you don't have pain. If you have pain, change something. Buy a few shoulder rests. Buy a few chin rests. It's a little expensive, but I would definitely recommend you trying at least 2 and going with something that's more comfortable. And if you have pain, please change something. Either your posture or the shoulder rest or the chin rest. And mostly it's your posture. Mostly it's you doing this, or it's you doing this. Neither of this should happen. Your shoulder should be relaxed, and this shouldn't happen, guys, okay? Even if you're playing sitting down, and this shouldn't happen where you're pushing down on the weight of the violin. In general, I would say, I've seen Narasimhan sir playing Carnatic on the Western hold, but I feel like it takes a lot of effort to do that, because when you do your gamakas, you put a lot of pressure, as Carnatic violinists keeping our thing on the leg there, we're used to putting a bit of pressure, and we can afford to, because that's the way we play it. We should keep it as light as possible as a general rule. But to play gamakas and play a kriti on the western hold, I don't usually do it. I play Nagumomu because it's like an energetic song. I play that while standing up so that it looks good. But a Raghuvam Sasuda or a Manavyala Kim, I just sit down and I play. But any film songs, all that I play while standing up, it's fine. But when it's too much intricate gamakas and all that, I feel like I sit and play, I'll enjoy myself better. And if I enjoy myself, the audience probably enjoys it better as well. Yes, I practice. So that's a very good question, HK. While practicing Shevichik, I sometimes keep it on Sapa, but sometimes I move to the Western tuning. So for a lot of these practices on Shevichik, Western tuning is E, A, D, G. That is Sa in Monushuddhi, Sa in Arushuddhi, A. Sa in Rendu Shuddhi and Sa in Anju Shuddhi, if you guys are not conversant with the Western notation. E, A, D, G. If you don't know Western notation, you won't be able to check Shevichik, so probably that doesn't apply to you. E, A, D, G is the Western tuning, and sometimes for a lot of the things there, you have to use the Western tuning. So yes, that's a very, very good question. Move to the Western tuning and do Shevichik. Unless it's a bowing thing, or if it doesn't matter, or if you're just talking about something within one string, you can get away with it, Okay. Okay, again I'm lagging behind. Let me go down, down, down. Does the instrument age like wine? Yes, it does. Acoustic violins age like wine, while electric violins probably just stay the same. What made me change my violin? At one point of time, I acoustic violin, I feel like, I don't want to get sentimental, but getting a good acoustic violin is like a blessing. I've searched for 4 years to get a good acoustic violin, and suddenly a friend of mine, Mishko, bassist, he said, "Hey, I know someone in France who has who knows me. He knows some old lady who has a violin in her attic. Old grandmother kind of a person who has a violin in the attic. And are you interested?" So I went. My very good friend Hemant sir, who's a violinist, he plays for a lot of string sections here in the film industry. So I took him. I went and saw the violin. The violin was very old, but he looked at it. I'm a violin player, but I'm not a violin maker, so I needed his guidance. So he told me, get this violin. It was a bit broken, so I got it for half the price, and he sorted it out for me. I'm very, very grateful to him. He's a guy who introduced me to Shevichik and a lot of the things. He's an amazing person. So I bought it, and it's a 1860 violin. It's a Grandjean pair. It's a French violin. And it sounds amazing. It's an acoustic violin, and I feel like that's a very, very important acquisition. I'm glad. I feel blessed, as I said, to have it. As far as electric violin goes, go with the tone in your mind. My Yamaha got really old, and I felt like I wanted to change, so I went to my Tulsi. I already had a Tulsi to begin with. Then I went to my Yamaha. Then again I came back to the Tulsi, and by the time Venkoba had done some changes in it to make it sound a bit more warmer and stuff like that, I liked it. And I thought, look, I don't want the synthetic sound, and some of the violins are very grainy and very, I don't like the violins that are too fat and synthetic. So I came back to the Tulsi. And that's basically the tone made me change. Carnatic, trained violinist, basic tips on how to switch to standing and playing. Get a shoulder rest, as I've already explained, get a shoulder rest and see some videos. It's important to see some videos and make sure there's no pain while playing it. It's a slow process, guys. If you want to stand and play, it's a slow process. Don't expect results immediately over a couple of months. This lockdown during coronavirus is possibly the best time for you to do it. Switch, start to play slowly, start to play your basic stuff. Don't start with your kirtanas, please. Maybe start with some things that don't require too many gamakas, right? Play a varnam without the gamaka, right? Because it's tough to play gamakas and slides while standing immediately. It takes a lot of effort. Also remember, if you feel pressure here, it also probably means you're putting too much pressure here. So lighten your fingers, while you're playing. This is a typewriter, guys. Typewriter, That's what your fingers are doing. There is a vibrato, there is a slide and all that, but basically make sure this is as light as possible. Okay. Let me move on quickly. As a beginner, what to look in a violinist during a concert? Do you mean what to look in a violinist during a concert? You mean when you're watching a concert and a violinist who's playing? I would say look at his or her bowing, see how they're bowing it, and see how far they go with their bowing, and see their fingering to an extent possible. It's easy to look at the bowing depending on where you're sitting, but also check out their dynamics, how they go loud, how they go soft, how they do that. As a Carnatic violinists, see how they build their ragas, how they build their swaras, etc. Gamaka practice lesson to practice daily. I'm not sure actually. This is something that I really need to look into a bit deeply. I have a lot of the slide lessons that I do. I don't know if it's useful for you guys. I had a Western classical violinist whom I taught, and I'm teaching him the slide now. It's very interesting because I don't know how I learned the slide when I was young, but it's very interesting because it involves a lot of things. So there is the 2-finger slide. So you start with this finger, end with this finger, okay? And there is the 3-finger slide, which is starting with this finger, ending with this. Okay, then there is a 3-finger slide. Did I say 3? I meant this is a 2-finger slide, what I just did now. 3-finger slide, which starts here and ends here. For me, this is the basic building block of a gamaka, right? Any gamaka that comes will use these slides. I need to see how I can convert better playing, how to play gamakas, practice. I need to convert that into some steps where, like how I said for the bowing, I need to figure that out. I will definitely think about it. It's good that you asked me. A lot of these things as violinists we do naturally. We probably learned it years ago. So I need to deconstruct it, and I need to figure out how it's done. And probably with my student also I learn so much when I'm teaching because it tells me how things are done, and I find myself improving in certain things as well. Facing difficulty playing upper sa, gamma. Okay, so that's basically your position. That's very important. Guys, I would say one thing. If you're having trouble playing either in the upper reaches or in the lower reaches, please play with plain notes first. Okay, playing with plain notes is very, very important. Take your geetams or take your sarali varsai or take your varnams. There is absolutely nothing wrong in taking your sarali varsais and doing them again. Your janta varsais, or especially your thatu varsai, I think. There's something that goes like that. No, these are all very good exercises, and these are very important. If you use your Sevichik, and if you can't do your Sevichik, Shradrik, and all those things, go for the Sarali Varsais. If you feel like, hey, I can't learn Western notation and I can't do all that, go to your Sarali Varsai, Dhatu Varsai, do it in different ragas, do it with plain notes. It's very important that you do it with plain notes. So basically, when you do it with plain notes, you are really sure of where your fingers should be, and that helps you. And to answer your question, upper, sa, ga, ma is also the same thing. You need to learn something called the third position in the Western violin that makes it much easier. But even without that, because I still haven't gotten that perfectly because I learned something else and I'm sort of in the middle here and there. It's very important to try and play plain notes. Try and play plain notes with your varnams, because varnam has this apa, sa, ga, ma and stuff like that. So when you play your plain notes, you will get a good idea of where your finger has to be. Along with some Western lessons, it makes it much easier as well. Okay, Nagumomo. Okay, I'll play Nagumomo at the end of the session. Best acoustic violin, beginners, Indian violin. There are Korean violins, Chinese violins in the market, which are decent, not bad. Then we have some of the German violins which was at 8,000 when I saw it, but probably a little bit more. The best acoustic violin is you have to source it. You have to find out who has it. Go ask these stores. I'm not too sure. Once I found my violin, I never really looked around. Unfortunately, I don't think there is a place where you can find a good violin. Look, I'm planning to sell one of my old violins, which I hardly use. It's a German violin. DM me. Once the lockdown finishes, come play the violin, and if you're interested, you can buy it from me. But to answer your question, you'll have to figure out other dealers, or if you're traveling, it's possibly good to go out and buy it. Just be careful while you buy an acoustic violin, in the sense that, some people try and it's very tough to judge an acoustic violin. I myself not too sure of that. So basically play it, see how it sounds, see if it sounds good to you, if you have a good feeling while you're doing it, and check what brand it is. There might be some people who might say, hey, this violin is this brand, that brand. You have to be careful while you buy a violin, because the value is very subjective. What bow do you use? Do you think it's a good bow? The right weight makes a difference? Yes, Sudarshan. Yes, definitely. I use the Koda Jewel. Okay, it's an amazing bow. It's very expensive though. This is made of carbon fiber. And it's important that you have a bow that has a good balance, because you can do these things very easily. So definitely a good bow helps. This bow is specifically for electric violin, because when I play the fifth string, it's my bow needs to be a bit heavy. So that's what it is. So get a few bowing exercises, awareness in. Once you do that, when you're aware of how your position has to be there, when you go to a shop, you can hold a bow and you can do this, and you will know how it's balancing, So that matters. And that matters especially when you're doing jumping things, or when you're doing staccato, or you're doing different things. But I would say, rather than looking to buy a new bow, changing your bowing, the way you bow, and I have no idea how you bow or not. I'm just saying this as a general thing, is very important. That will change the tone. That's more important than getting you could have the best bow, but if you don't have good technique, or if you do not have optimum technique, you can always get better, right, at the sounding. So work on the technique. It's very difficult for me to change the tuning of my violin every song when playing in the band. Please. So this is a tough thing for me as well. Thankfully for my band, we have two Shrutis. We have C sharp, F sharp. So I have two violins. I have two violins. I've started playing F sharp in C sharp so that I can move my second violin to a different thing, which gives me option to play for 3 or 4 Shrutis. Carry 2 violins. Carry a tuner with you. Between songs, have the set list with you. These are all certain practical things. Have the set list with you. Try and get your friends, musicians, to group all your songs together which are in the same Shruti, so you don't have to keep going back and forth. Have a bypass pedal on your tuner. Press the bypass, tune it very quickly in between the song, and then you're ready. So these are the things that I did when I played with Raghu or Emergence. I used to keep doing this all the time. It's not easy. What you can do is to learn to play the song in, if you want to play an E song in D, see how you can play it. It involves you learning positions. It involves you doing some exercises for that. If it's a simple enough song where you have just one hook to do, I think it's easier to learn. But if you have to play a 32 bar solo where you have to improvise and do fancy stuff, obviously you want to be on an E song, you want to be on an E violin, in which case you've got to tune it. I've seen a lot of violinists who use their processors and pitch it up and down. You need to have a very good processor so that it doesn't sound bad, but try it out if you have a processor. And that works. It's not best, but it works. 1 or 2 semitones, you could do that. Vocal processor, guitar processor is the one for the violin, not the vocal processor. I'm not used to vocal processor of the violin, so I don't know the answer for that. But I've used guitar processors. I started with the Boss GT6, which was really good, and then now I have the Fractal FX8, which is top of the line, one of the best processors. The GT6 was amazing. I played when I was playing with Raghu Dixit project and all that. I used the GT6. It gave me great sounds. I really love it. I don't think there's something such as a violin processor because I don't know why enough violinists doing this, but I guess everyone goes to a guitar processor. The only thing is you can't use their presets because all the presets are aimed at guitar, so you have to create your own presets. To play Kalpana Swaras, how to create patterns, getting it right with the Thalam. If you get it right, then can you apply to the Rala Ragams, bro? Okay, let me... I have 2 interesting steps for Kalpana Swaram. Let me just play that. Guys, I'm going to keep going on for a bit until I see the numbers drop. It's already been an hour and a half. Maybe let's cap it at 10 o'clock. I don't want to strain myself too much as well. Let's cap it at 10. And, if you guys want one more live, please write to me. Also, to let you know, I'm planning a crash course during the lockdown. I'm just thinking about it and I'm planning it. What techniques would you like to learn? Would you be interested? Just DM me or add to the comments of this post, Insta live post. So yeah, just keep giving me some feedback. This is the first time I'm doing it. I know that in Insta Live I can't cover too many things, so which is why I'm looking at this crash course as a way in which I can see you playing. I see a lot of you guys giving video requests. I haven't been able to take it up because I'm like, there's too many questions there. So I'm trying to address that. So keep giving me feedback, what was useful, so that I also know how I can do this better on this medium, which is pretty new to me. So, Swaram. I have some notes here which I wrote down and I'm going to refer to them. Okay, so first things for Swaram, as usual, have your metronome on, have your tanpura on, go to a tempo that you want to. Let me say I want to do 90 BPM. I'll go to something lower so I can play the second speed. Okay, so I'm on 74 BPM. So this probably applies to you guys who want to start playing the Kalpana Swaram or just started. If you already know how to play it, maybe you can start at a different level. But I would say start with having this tempo. Have 5 swaras. Pick a raga. Let's pick Sankarabharanam. Have 5 swaras. Okay? 5 swaras. So what and all can you do in the 5 swaras is what is important. Say... I'll play it with Gamaka. So that's very basic. Just explore yourself in the last 10 minutes of your practice where I ask you to, switch off your lights and just play what you feel like alone in your room if you want to. Try this out. Okay, so there are various levels to it, right? First level, you take 5 swarams. that's the basic way of doing it. Then you could do another thing. Keep the 5 swarams. I think it's important. Okay. Now try to look at gaps that you can play. So when you start to use gaps, automatically you're starting to get into a zone where see what's the idea of swaram, and what is the success of swaram? Swaram is exploring the raga in a rhythmic fashion, because if you're not going to do it in a rhythmic fashion, it's alapana. So you want to do it in a rhythmic fashion. You want to explore a raga, you want to bring out the beauty of the raga, and I would say it is to make it memorable. How can you make it in such a way that it's memorable, in the sense that how can you make it that it has a melody to it? For example, so that's sort of like a varnam, right? Now, if I want to add a certain sense of melody and a certain sense of movement to it, let me do one thing. I will start with ga. I will go down to re. I'll go to sa, and then I'll go to pa. Okay, so basically I'm using different landing notes. Okay, and this probably answers Ram Viru's question about how to create patterns and getting it right to the talam. That's a slightly different topic, but I'll address that separately. But this is about ga, re, sa, and pa. And see all the spaces that I'm using. So, it's a mixture of spaces, and how can you create that together with the swaras. And have landing notes like this. Landing notes like this helps. Da is a landing note. I've moved away from the 5 notes to the full thing. Right there is a pattern, Again, coming back to landing note. I'm trying to move from da to ni. So I'm telling the audience that, hey, I'm going to knee, and knee is a very volatile note. It's how to say, you can't stand on it. You can't do this. Knee always wants to resolve to sa. So use it to, give a feeling of resolution to the audience, You see how knee is unstable? So, I saw one of these master classes by Hans Zimmer, and he was talking about how to make background music. You know Hans Zimmer, right? He's done for all the Dark Knight and one of the biggest composers in Hollywood. So he was talking about question and answer, and I think it's very nice to approach the swaras through a very question-answer sort of a thing, where you have your stable notes for every raga. So Shankarabharanam, what's the stable note? Sa and Pa, if the raga has Pa, in Shankarabharanam obviously, Sa and Pa are always stable. Okay, Gandharam is very stable. Madhyamam is a bit stable, I would say. It's not as stable as Gandharam, but Sagapa is like rock solid. Madhyamam, yes. Daivadam is not so stable, Madhyamam, Daivadam are a little less stable. Knee is extremely less stable, You can't stand on knee too much time because it causes a tension, which is good. You can use the tension. Re, again, is less stable because, it doesn't give a feeling of resolution. I'm taking off the metronome for a while. The feeling that you get, it's there, it's just sitting like a rock. Same with Pa. Again. And Gandharam. Again, it's rock solid. But the second you get into your Re, see, it's waiting to go into the more solid note. You know what I mean? Same with Ma. You see how Ma is a bit here, it's not as solid as Ga is, and look at Da. And when you get to Pa, you're like, okay, that's resolution. So this is what we use to sort of create emotions. Now, coming back to what Hans Zimmer said, I would say if you apply the whole question and answer to swaras, it's very interesting. So let's say the answers are always give us peace. So that's the Sa, Ga, Pa notes which resolve. Okay. Let's say the questions are the Re's, the Ma's, and the Das, and the Ni's. So let's ask a few questions and let's answer it. Okay. I'm going to go from Ni to Sa. That's like a question, if you're going to ask a question to someone, hey, what's happening? You have to not take this literally, but that's a question. That's a question. That's an answer. Question is, hey, how are you doing? And the answer is, I'm doing well. Shankarabharanam is about happiness, about being at peace with oneself, according to me. I don't know it's a Rakti Ragam. So that's what you need to use. You are basically, you're expressing yourself to your audience, and you are creating emotions in the people who are listening as well. Let's do with Re and Sa, Questions? So, question is the answer. So, these are interesting ways. Again, there is no hard and fast rule, but when you're trying to do something creative, you need to play all these things in your mind and then come up with something. To wrap up this thing on Swaram, I think I've taken too much time, is that record yourself while you're playing the Swaram, because you tend to lose focus. You're trying to get the notes out, so you can't judge yourself on how you're sounding. So record your Swarams and listen to them later. There will be things that you like, there will be things that you don't like, so you know what is good, what is not good, because we are our best judges. And just as you listen to a concert and you say, hey, I like this artist, hey, I don't like this artist, do the same to yourself, and that will start to create a feedback mechanism. Swarams, anything that you play, even if playing a kirtana, record yourself, listen to yourself. Inevitably, you won't be happy with what you played, and that's good, because you will try and improve on it next. Also, play records of big artists you like. For me, the trio of TNK, TN Krishnan sir, MSG and Lalgudi sir, my go-to violinists. They all have different styles. You might like one more than the other. So please check their swara types of playing and see if you can take a swara and try and emulate it by, I don't want you to by heart it, but I would like you to emulate it by 70-80%, right? And see what they've done. For example, MSG is famous for his swaras in Sindhu Bhairavi. Of course, Sindhu Bhairavi might be a bit complicated, but that helped me a lot when I was playing and I wanted to learn. So get these artists, listen to them, listen to their stuff, and then figure out how you can play swarams like that. There'll be things, it's about listening a lot and imitating someone's creativity, and when you do enough of it, you can start to get your own style. It's nothing wrong to imitate someone and then for you to take off from there, because all the time it's imitating someone is like sending a signal to your brain about how you're playing everything. But then after a point of time, when you want to be creative in the last 10 minutes of your practice, when you switch all the lights off and you're just one with you and the instrument, your brain starts to give you a lot of things, and it picks things that you listen to. This MSG violin swaram you picked up from, the TNK you picked up from, or the Semangudi swaram that you picked up from. So all these things really help. So yeah, that's it as far as swaram is concerned. Okay, let me quickly go. Guys, Gamaka, I'll get back to you with something a bit more very precise. I need to sort of reverse engineer it. Playing violin in standing position. Yeah, I've already answered about standing, so I guess you heard it. Technique on playing upper sa gamma is basically you got to use your position. You got to use your positions and you got to play it. I would say that when you get to your sa, use your first finger, and then re second finger, ga third finger, and ma if possible, the little finger. Same for sari, ga, ma, pa, da also, right? These are important to get, but again, it comes from a wholly structured learning of how to do it. We will look at addressing that in a separate way. Manodharma Swarams, I just answered that. Hemant Nair learned Western and Carnatic music. How many months? I don't know if that's a question. How many months are you taking over? How many months? I get asked this a lot. How many months or years? I think it'll take years for sure. Definitely not months. It depends on how much time you put into it. I would say if you put a lot of time, effort and motivation, I think, I don't know, guys. I think it'll take probably 3 years. Sorry, what am I saying? It'll take 3 years for you to get to the basic level, then another 2-3 years for the intermediate, and then possibly by the 6th year, I think you can do something as a professional. It's a very tough question to answer. All I can say is it's how fast you do is directly proportional to the amount of time you spend. A guy who spends, or a girl who spends 4 hours every day on a violin is going to finish something in a year that a person who spends only 1 hour in a day is going to take probably 4 years. And it's just like that. It's just the amount of time you do. A lot of my students say, hey, how can I come? Can I have regular classes? I want to meet. Different students at different levels have different needs, but I always tell them one thing. It's not important what we do here at class, but what you go back home and practice. So practice, practice, practice. That's the most important thing, I feel like violinists in general are very calm people. It takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of tolerance, it takes a lot of being one with yourself to be a good violinist, because you just spend hours on practice, and you end up liking it because it's very meditative. So yeah, it's no easy answer to your question. Which exercise to make gamaka perfect? Western people, they have no gamaka, so how you can play gamaka? Any simple exercise? Okay, so now when you say for a Western violinist, I think that makes it simpler for me to explain to you how to do this. Let me go a bit back. Okay, so in Western classical we have so you have this, right? Guys, I have 10 minutes. I think I'll wrap up in 10 minutes, yeah? I'll do this slide. Maybe that's possibly it. For the guys who wanted to know how to tune stuff, let me address it in a separate live, or I'll try and do a video, right? Slide. So, slide is what? Slide is basically changing from one finger to the other. In most cases, we can do a one finger slide as well. Changing from one finger to the other without a change in the tone. Unless you look at me, you don't know it's changed from one finger to the other. What is the wrong way of doing it? That's the wrong way of doing a slide, because you see that break. It's not this. It's this break. So, source finger, target finger. Okay? So what happens is, at some point of time, so it's basically like, forget a whole tone, let's go for a semitone, from re to small ga. So you slowly drop the middle finger. So try and get this graph. It should be this. It should not be this. There should be no break in that. So try with two fingers. I have a lot of very interesting ways to get the slide for Western classical violinists. I can't address everything here, but start with this. It's basically how slowly you drop the middle finger. And for ga and ma, that's the start. It's a very complicated question. It's a very good question. That's the start. So there's a lot of things that you have to do on top of that. Let's see how we can work that out. There is 2 finger slides, there is 3 finger slides, there is 1 finger slide, there is 4 finger, 1, 2, 3, there's 4 finger slide as well. So we'll have to figure that out. Yeah, I'll address gamakas. Which exercise can make gamaka perfect? Yeah, that's what I just answered. I already spoken about gamakas. Gamakas, I'll come back with something very specific. studying Carnatic violin for the past 14 years, but when I'm playing cinematic songs, every song I'm getting Carnatic style. I have to change that. Please give suggestion. It's a very common problem for us Carnatic violinists. When I used to just start playing, my Western musician counterparts used to make fun of me. It's very true. So, start practicing your varnams and all that on plain notes. This is very important because in Carnatic everything is a slide, everything is a gamaka, but in film songs it's not the way. So first get that, and the varnams will probably sound bad, but doesn't matter, just for your practice. Get that sorted, you'll automatically see a big change. Then you might have to develop the vibrato and stuff like that. That's again a different, but this is the first suggestion that I would give. You're not going to forget your Carnatic style, but you will probably know how to play without the Carnatic style as well. And when you're doing the plain notes, be very, very careful about your intonation. Intonation meaning staying in Shruti. Please be very careful about it, because with Gamaka, sometimes some people are used to being in Shruti, but when you go to the plain notes, it's tough. The Shraddhic exercises I've suggested in the last live, that's the 1 hour before, the Sevichik, all this helps, Again, I will post this because, guys, I can't insist on this enough. Sevichik, Shraddhic, very good stuff, these are all. So, I'm coming to an end of this live. I'm just going to play a song and I'm going to stop, okay? Let's play Raghuvam Susada. Alright guys, thanks a lot for being here. Had a great time, and it's 2 hours on the clock. I didn't see time going. Do give me feedback. Let me know how you liked it. I will read all your comments a little bit more. I'm sorry if I haven't seen your comment or haven't been able to address a question that you had. I will definitely do more live sessions like these. And as I said, I want to do a crash course where I'll be able to handle a small group of violinists and grouped into like similar categories and see them playing and address like sort of a Zoom sort of a class. Let me know if you'd be interested in it, and let me know what kind of techniques and stuff like that. Just keep giving me feedback. It's very useful for me. Let's see what best we can do out of this whole Corona lockdown. I don't know how the situation outside is going to be. The next 2 weeks are very crucial. If it doesn't get said enough, please stay safe. Don't go out. I have a feeling it's going to get worse. I hope I'm wrong, but please stay indoors. Don't go out, not for yourself, but for the elders in your house. Be very careful, and I will see you all guys very soon. I have 10 seconds remaining, so I have to sign off, and we'll all meet hopefully another live session very soon. Thank you all. Take care.